Hello, everybody.
Hello, hello.
Welcome to another episode of Critique Corner with me, Daniel Parker.
And me, DB Fastbinder.
And
Back from our turkey comas.
yes. And I hope everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving. And I noticed we actually had somebody in the chat earlier, Will from Creators Outlet. Good to see you.
Thanks for the
Uh,
algorithm tickle.
yes, thank you. If you are new here to the channel, what we normally do is we start with our thing of the week, which is a form of media that the two of us have been consuming for the past week.
hmm
Then we move on to our box office analysis, and then finally the topics that we have chosen.
Yes,
And
as we do our little bit of analysis on basically it's almost like the thing of the week is making sure that we actually are, consuming some media rather than just complaining about it.
yes, exactly. For this week, DB is going to go first, and with his.
So I ended up watching the new musical on Apple TV Plus, Spirited.
Hmm.
Now, my dad was reading this as we were watching the movie. This movie had a $70 million budget. 20 million went to Mr. Ryan Reynolds here.
Ah,
20 minutes went to Mr. Will Ferrell here.
oh, jeez.
So, Spirited, I would say, has a interesting premise, a little bit meta, but so the idea is basically that the events of A Christmas Carol were not a one-time event.
Hmm.
It's basically it's a thing that happens in heaven where a group of ghosts of Christmas, past, present, and future, and a support team uh, pick one person a year to try to reach and try to
Hmm.
change their lives.
You're still muted.
You lied to me, headset.
Yeah.
Anyway, anyway, so you come across it and you realize that Will Ferrell's character is Ebenezer Scrooge, who has been the ghost of Christmas present for a long time.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah.
and now this leads to some logical questions. Like people know the story of A Christmas Carol, so they kind of understand what's going on.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, so it's like, okay, how did that happen? Especially with something that happens in the book or in the movie,
Hmm.
uh, which is kind of the crux of the movie. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But this is not a movie that necessarily rewards deeper analysis.
Ah. Yeah.
Um, so let's talk about the positives. Ryan and Will both give good performances.
Right.
Uh, Ryan is basically playing uh, his character who is deemed unredeemable, and Scrooge decides to try to fix him. Uh, is He is a guy whose entire business is built um, on stirring division and hate on Twitter. Uh, it starts off with he's been paid by the Christmas Tree Growers Association to try and boost their sales. And so his strategy is to make hashtags where, real Christmas trees versus the fake Christmas trees into a culture war issue. Like your neighbor has an artificial Christmas tree. Is he lazy or does he just hate Jesus? That type of thing.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
So that's his entire thing.
Uh,
And Ebenezer is trying to redeem him.
okay.
Now, there is a very tacked on romance story where Ebenezer is spotted by one of Ryan's employees.
Mm.
And I forget if I think he like he has a crush on her for whatever reason. Um, I'm, okay. hmm. I've been debating all week whether to bring up this observation or not. The person who, so the person who they brought in is a fine actress. She is a good singer.
Hmm.
She is not somebody that I think most people would fall in love with at first sight.
Oh. Okay. I'm actually kind of curious who that is. Let me look it up real quick.
While you do that, and again, I don't want to body shame anybody. It's just that for a story like this, it's where you don't really give them a lot of good moments together.
Mm.
A little bit of shallowness would help kind of grease the wheels of our suspension of disbelief a little bit.
Uh, is it Octavia Spencer?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I see what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting. It's
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, uh,
uh, uh, I think it's actually an opportunity because they did have a few jokes about him being very 19th century in some ways. You could have actually had a joke about that, where it's well, in our day, being plus size meant that you had access to more resources and were thus a better match or something like that.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, like so probably the best part of the movie was the bit where they got out of Ryan's past and ended up in Scrooge's past because Scrooge pulled up his own history just to try to give him an idea of, look, if I could be redeemed, you can be redeemed.
Okay.
And the best part of it was you find out that they see his past self and he keeps saying good afternoon and good afternoon to you too, woman. Like, okay, everyone seemed very offended when you said that. Well, in the 19th century, good afternoon was basically like F off.
Okay.
And so they turned it into a whole song, which
uh,
is the most memorable song of the movie.
uh,
Which, let's go ahead and so that's positive. So we had good performers.
mhm,
Everybody sang the songs that they were given well,
mhm,
and the set design was fun. I feel like you could almost make this happen on a Broadway stage.
mhm, mm.
Negatives. So so I mentioned that. Let's see. Do I want to get into a bit of spoilers here? Um, I'm going to get into slight spoilers here. Uh,
Okay.
Also, I'm leaving a lot out of the plot of the movie because they aren't terribly interesting. They kind of play out the way you would expect.
Yeah. Yeah.
But this is something that occurred to me just now as a mild problem. So people in this universe know the story of A Christmas Carol. They know who
Mhm.
Ebenezer Scrooge is. You kind of have to in order for it to make an impact when Ryan finds out who he is, right?
Right. Yeah.
You learn that Scrooge's character turmoil, which is kind of interesting in my opinion, is
Mhm.
that he wonders, was I actually redeemed? Am I
Ah.
actually a better person now?
Mm.
Uh, because you find out that he he died 3 weeks after the events of A Christmas Carol.
Oh.
Because, as they put it in those days, the leading cause of death was January. The movie does have a few like really amusing lines in there at different points,
yeah.
and
Mm.
so and so you have to wonder, okay, if it had been more than like what did he tell the story to Charles Dickens? Did he, or yeah, how did Charles Dickens find out about this with a 3 week thing? If or did Scrooge quickly write down his memoirs and that's how people know it?
yeah. Yeah. There's a bit of a leap in logic there.
Uh, did he tell Tiny Tim and Tiny Tim spread the story around?
Mm.
Like, you know what I mean? It's just like it's wait a minute, like a little bit of a logical conundrum there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that's like okay, musicals have paper thin stories. They're an excuse to sing musicals and maybe see a dance routine.
Mhm.
Um, like if you look at the plot of the Pirates of Penzance, it's ridiculous. Like the pirates at the end go, "Oh well, we're all just lost peers. We're all good Englishmen, so I guess we'll stop fighting." Even though we've been fighting the entire time.
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that's a great musical.
yeah.
However, what I have to say as far as a problem with the musical is the music was done by Pasek and Paul, who you might remember from such musicals as Dear Evan Hansen, La La Land, The Greatest Showman, James the Giant Peach, and the A Christmas Story one.
Oh.
Um, and I have only ever the only thing I'd ever been exposed to them from was the Greatest Showman song, like the title song.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a pretty decent song.
Yeah.
And then you find out I could not, like, if you put a gun to my head and said, hum one of the songs from Spirited or It's Your Life,
Yeah.
well, you better just kill me. Because 5 minutes
Yeah.
after that movie was done, I realized that I might, okay, do I actually know that Good Afternoon song? Or I realize, like, when I think about it, I realize I keep accidentally bringing in that I've Got a Dream song from Tangled.
Okay.
I keep going like, Good Afternoon. That isn't the right song. Damn it.
Yeah.
They're basically a couple. So Holy Ninja says hello, and hello, Holy
Oh,
Ninja. Yes, who these
oh,
guys
hey.
are. Again,
Yes.
they're a musical production group that's pretty well respected, and I don't see why,
Yeah.
because it has the problem of. Oh, in fact, they probably are the problem of modern musicals that we've heard people complain about, where the songs are barely songs.
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
more just like wall of noise stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, with musicals, yeah, like you were saying, you have to be able to like have at least one of the songs in your head. I mean, if you go see Fiddler on the Roof and you aren't humming "If I Were a Rich Man,"
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Where like that's what makes Pirates of Penzance, and yeah, that's why people are still doing Gilbert and Sullivan 100 plus years later,
yeah.
because damn, those songs are catchy.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
Or in spite of all temptation. But
Ooh.
so back to the movie at hand here, and it ends in a way that's kind of interesting, but also kind of not at the same time, which is a strange way of putting it. But
Hmm.
it's like it juked in a way I didn't expect it to juke, but it's also like, okay, it's a logical way to end it because of things that happened.
Yeah.
That there's some funny moments. There's a bit of bathos in a few scenes where it feels like it should have been more serious, but they threw in a joke. It's the Marvel it's the Marvel
Ugh.
curse.
Man, Marvel seems to have ruined years of movies.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, it's like, wait, you're rushing off to save a child from committing suicide.
Yeah.
Why is there why why is there a joke with the guy in the taxi?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
The
So,
funny thing is that
yeah.
for once I actually agree with Rotten Tomatoes. The the rating, it seems like everybody's just around where I'm at, like D plus,
Hmm.
because on Rotten Tomatoes at 68%, on IMDb at 6.6. That's a fair rating
Okay.
because it's
Hmm.
not hateful or anything. It's just you watch it once, you move on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so not a Christmas classic.
No, although I'm told that my childhood church's pastor has declared this her favorite movie, and I don't know. Like
Mm.
there's certain buzzword things where it's like, you know how some people give things credit just because they bring up online bullying or other current issues.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wonder if she did that.
Probably. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I would say it's worth a watch with the family, but not, you know, even if they come out with a Blu-ray, don't buy it. I
Mm.
almost want to pull up the uh, uh, soundtrack on Spotify and see if I'm being too harsh on it, but
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
firm meh.
Meh. Okay. All right. Well, we've got my thing of the week here. From one Christmas movie, new Christmas movie to another. So I finally got around to watching A Christmas Story Christmas, which came out, dropped on HBO Max about 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Mhm.
And so this is I would say this is the true sequel to A Christmas Story. So
Mhm.
you've got Peter Billingsley, who's back as Ralphie. or Ralph, as some people call him. And pretty much almost the entire cast from the original movies back, except for well, two notable absences. One is, of course, Darren McGavin, who played the dad. He passed away in like the mid 2000s, and then the actress who played the mom is they didn't bring her back for whatever reason. She couldn't come back, so they had Julie Haggerty playing the mom. But so this is definitely a movie. If you liked the original movie, if you like the first one, you'll like this movie too. They what I like about it is they pay tribute to the first movie,
hmm
but they try to make it its own separate thing. They try to do their own thing with it. And I think a lot of that is because Ralphie's an adult now, so Christmas is a different situation for him as an adult than when it was when he was a kid.
hmm
Um, Ninja Toe, that's a dumb title. Yeah,
I think it's on purpose.
yeah, I think so too. Yeah. But so the movie starts off. Ralphie is I think he's like in his early 40s. He's got his own family. He has a wife and a son and a daughter, and they're living in south side of Chicago. And he's trying to trying to get a career as a writer. And he wrote
Mhm.
a science fiction novel called Neptune's Oblivion, which is like 2,000 pages.
Oh my god.
And everybody tells him, yeah, it's really wordy. Uh, so so he's trying to get his career going. Unfortunately, all the publishers are rejecting him because this is 1973 is the year it takes place in.
hmm
So of course back then you had to, if you wanted to publish anything, you had to go through traditional publishing. There was no Amazon or anything like that. Um, and of course Christmas is coming up, and they work it into the plot of Ralphie's dad passes away, and so they have to go back to his hometown in Indiana. And of course his mom tells him, we don't we don't didn't want your father wouldn't want to let his death affect the holiday, so they wanted to celebrate Christmas as normal. And of course Ralphie's just like, I have no idea what I'm gonna do. He's just like in over his head. And so and it's like I said, there's a lot of nostalgia in there because they bring in like his two friends are back. And
hmm
um of course then you have one of the things I like is they don't focus on his kids too much. They do have a little bit of a subplot in there, but it's not distracting from the rest of the movie. um and uh and it's just it's it's I thought it was really funny. Parts of it are really funny. And I don't want to give too much of the movie away. But there's a pretty funny scene in there where when they go to the department store and they're like, oh hey, go see Santa. And Ralphie tells his kids, don't let him kick you in the face.
So I'm going to make a confession.
Yeah.
It's going to seem weird. Like, you're putting me on. I have never actually seen A Christmas Story.
What? It's on every Christmas
I know, but
on TBS.
I've just never gotten around to watching it. It's
Oh,
not something I grew up with. My
oh wow.
sister hates it because her ex husband's family loved it, and
Oh,
Christmas Vacation.
oh,
So
okay.
uh, I so let me ask you this hypothetical question:
Okay.
if I accidentally stumbled into A Christmas Story Christmas without watching the first movie, would I just be completely confused?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah, you have to know all the characters to kind of know what's going on in this movie. Yeah.
right, and they probably rightfully assume that most people have actually seen the movie.
Yes, yes. Yeah, because it sort of reminded me of Ghostbusters Afterlife with some of the
Okay,
nostalgia they do. Not as much though, not as much. But yeah, there's some stuff from the first movie that shows up in here, and yeah, it's and I gotta say, I really liked Peter Billingsley in this. He was really funny. And I know he really doesn't. I don't think he doesn't really act as much these days. I think he's more behind the camera. But yeah, this. I mean, if you liked, like I said before, if you liked the first movie, you'll like this movie. Yeah,
I wonder if he gets any sort of real royalties off of those movies being shown 24 hours straight every Christmas.
yeah, maybe he might get a little check. Yeah. And Ninja Toast says he only watched it once. Family didn't like it much. And we watched Christmas Vacation. Um, yeah, the humor is very good. I'm trying to figure out how to describe the humor. It's very kind of subtle, very subtle humor, but it's also like um, it's a little. I don't want to say mean spirit. It can be a little mean spirited, but not too. But it's in good fun though.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, if you've got HBO Max, actually, I think the first movie is on HBO Max too. So if you want to do a little Christmas thing where you want to watch the first one and then watch this one, you know, just don't watch A Christmas Story 2.
Yeah, I remember you. I noticed you said there was a real sequel, and I did have vague memories of them trying to make a sequel a while back.
Yeah, about 10 years ago.
Didn't
And
go well.
no, I've never watched it, but I've seen clips from it, and it's really awful.
Ugh.
It's so bad.
Okay.
But yeah. On to the next topic here.
Yes, you know who didn't have a particularly good Christmas? Disney.
Disney.
So to go back in time here,
Hmm.
there's a couple of different ways that the box office is counted for Thanksgiving. You can
Mm,
either do the traditional Friday to Sunday, or you can do 5 days,
mhm.
because most people, movies will come out on the Wednesday night or on Thanksgiving Day itself and then run through it.
Right.
There weren't a lot of there weren't a lot of new releases, which is something we've been saying a lot, I notice.
Yeah.
But let's kind of go over some of the films we've been tracking for a bit. Um, Lyle Lyle Crocodile made a little under 1 million, though apparently it's already on digital, so
Mm,
that's going to hurt it.
yeah.
Lyle Lyle Crocodile, apparently its music was done by the same group that did Spirited.
Ugh.
So that makes me wonder if it's the same sort of category of, Wall of Sound.
Well, jeez.
Um, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, had a pretty good hold week over week, 31% down from the previous week, weekend
Mhm.
gross of 45 million. And yet it's like really pacing behind the original Black Panther,
Yeah.
because it had a very large first weekend drop. So the watching Valiant Renegade, he said that mathematically, it's like if the first movie took the second week off of getting tickets sold
Mm,
fi- financially.
yeah.
So it looks like, actually, let's do this live. And also, it's the domestic box office is way ahead of the international, which tracks
Yeah.
like the first movie.
Yeah.
Thor: Love and Thunder, yeah, 700. Thor: Love and Thunder made 745 total worldwide. So this has a decent enough chance of edging ahead of it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Although I guess it kind of depends too on which movie about blue underwater people do people want to go see this in December. That's just bad launch timing.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh man. That's yeah. And I definitely have thoughts on that movie. But we'll get to that in another time.
Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
when
Yeah.
we actually get closer to Avatar 2,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
considering that I keep hearing that he said, "Oh yeah, this will need to break 2 billion to break even." I almost want to do a yes hype review on that. Uh, like, make a pact to go see it just out of pity, if nothing else.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, let's hear.
Hey,
More Ninja.
Chengus.
American film about a fake African nation, biggest money maker, not Africa. Yeah, I
Mhm.
mean, I don't know. Like imagine that some African filmmaker invented a fictional European country called Drusselstein,
Yeah.
and all the countries oh you have the tribe that wears the lederhosen and the tribe that wears the berets and the tribe that uh I don't know the that get
Uh,
overly excited at soccer games.
yes, and
Go oi oi oi.
yeah, yeah, and then one that wears bowler hats, and yeah.
Yes. That's basically like people will go like, oh man, this is Afrofuturism. It looks so great, and it's all these cultures authentic. They built skyscrapers with thatched roof. If like, how is this not seen as awfully racist? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Uh,
Ninja Tell, I bet Europeans would actually be stupid enough to watch it. Maybe.
I don't know. I don't know.
Uh,
But regardless, the other thing that's, yeah, I mean, also it's hard to have a movie without the actual Black Panther in it.
mhm.
Like, I'm sorry, Shuri's actress, as based as she is for her opinions on medical stuff,
Yeah.
is not a leading lady. At least not with that character.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she was. I thought she was all right in the first movie, but yeah, I just don't see it.
It in terms of the character style and impact, it'd be like if in the next Spider-Man movie, like if Tom Holland, God forbid anything happened to him, and they decided to have Zendaya pick up the torch in the next movie.
Oh no. Or Ned. Imagine Ned as Spider Man.
I mean, he'd work off some of those LBs pretty quick.
Yeah, that's true.
But uh, moving on to other highlights. First major Hispanic character in an MCU who rules an entire country is a villain. Well,
Isabel.
that's just Namor in general. Like
Yeah.
Namor is very much out for Namor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Other notable release was Glass Onions, a Knives Out mystery,
Oh,
which
jeez.
actually did pretty good for itself considering it came out in less than 1,000 theaters.
Yeah.
Um, like what was the theater average here? Box office, ba 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 ba. Like five. It came out on the day before Thanksgiving. It got between 3 and 5,000 average per theater,
Yeah.
which that's a good, good on the theaters there.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was in like a little under 700 over the weekend. I think it's getting a launch pretty quick on Netflix too.
Yeah. I that's what I heard. Yeah. And I think the first movie did really well too, if I remember correctly. Ninjato says, I wanted Neymar's first appearance to be the filmmaking plot to get.
Uh, uh, how can he get into them if he can't see them, huh?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
but nah, it's now I wasn't a big fan of the original Knives Out. I found it kind of tiresome.
Mm.
Now, was a lot of me finding that movie tiresome, knowing who made it? Yes, and I will fess up to that.
Yeah. So Ryan Johnson made a decent movie. I don't know. Haven't seen it.
Yeah, but he made a movie that was well received. I just noticed that the daily box office stopped abruptly on Monday, so that was a very limited release.
Mm. Yes. Mm.
So, but it would not surprise me if going forward, if Netflix started doing this more often, because it's a way
Yeah.
to spike interest in the movie and make a little scratch to go with it.
Yeah. I don't see why they wouldn't do that. Makes perfect sense.
Like there was this. Speaking of Ryan Reynolds, IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes also give this Ryan Reynolds straight to streaming movie a 6.7, or right around there. Trying to. Did you ever watch a movie called The Atom Project?
I haven't. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
It's in the similar category of I can't believe this is a Netflix production,
Uh,
in that it's actually like it's a real enough original sci-fi movie.
mhm.
Um, Got a limited one night only theatrical release on March 9th, 2022, followed by being released on March 11th. It had a budget of $116 million. That's a lot of money to dump right into Netflix and
Yeah.
have it be supported by subscribing.
Yeah. That's
So I think we're going to see, it's like they still make money indirectly through subscriptions, and they can assess, like, did this movie keep people subscribed?
Yeah.
But if they'd put it out for 2 weeks in theaters and made 25 million to help offset those costs, I think they might have been happier.
Hmm. Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and it would they would probably endear themselves to the movie theaters a bit more
Yeah.
because
You could
yeah.
also run promotions like, hey, did you go see a Netflix movie? Here,
Mm,
have a $3. If you scan your ticket on with this Netflix app thing, like, you could just load it up on the phone and have it
yeah.
be a thing on the Netflix mobile app.
Hmm.
You could have it be like, oh, you scan your movie ticket from seeing the Netflix movie, and you get a $3 credit towards your next account or your next month.
Yeah. Yeah. That would yeah. That makes too much sense. You're
I know.
making too much sense.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But, or for that matter, like, okay, if you're an existing one, like, minor credit. If you're a
Mhm.
new subscriber, 2 weeks free.
Yeah.
Uh, It's it's that type of cross promotion that David Zaslav is trying to make happen.
Yeah.
But and unfortunately, Disney doesn't have a David Zaslav. They also don't have a Bob Iger anymore. But let's transition out of general box office. Actually, is
Yes.
there anything else we want to talk about here?
I don't
Uh,
think so.
Black
Well,
Adam is
Black
basically
Adam. Yeah.
making money at this point.
Yeah.
It cost roughly as much as Wakanda Forever to make, and its total international box office is just barely behind Wakanda Forever's
Hmm.
domestic total.
Yeah.
So it's going to get some money. It's going to get a little bit more money on digital, but it's kind of a mitigating thing. And
Hmm.
the best thing about it is, you can say about it, is it wasn't brand damaging, and it made the core fans happy, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. Yeah. And some people seem to enjoy it, and it didn't go into topics. I
Yes.
guess I will say. Yeah. So
Yeah. So, you know what? I have no problem with this movie existing, but it's just, unfortunately, just not financially a success.
yeah. Yeah. But
Although,
yeah.
you know what it did better than? Transition Time.
Transition. Yes.
So this is going to get it to be its own thing. Strange World.
Yes.
So, what was that? Let me pull up the tweet here. Actually, I don't feel like delving into Twitter right now.
Oh
So
yeah.
the tweet that keeps going around, and what's funny is I've seen people on both sides of the culture war post basically the same tweet with minor tweaks.
Yeah.
Uh, um, uh, but it's Brianna Wu from the Gamergate days made a point. Uh, made a point of saying, "Oh man, the conservatives are going to hate this movie. Openly gay, leading character, biracial marriage that,
Mhm.
and nobody comments on it. Uh, Environmental message. Even the dog's disabled." And then I saw a tweet where it's like, this movie is awful, and then they basically had the exact same bullet points.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, and Ninja Warriors is a Disney way to hey Disney way to make me not hyped for Indiana Jones 5, complete with a stupid artifact name.
Yeah, we're
Yeah, yeah.
we're gonna talk about that when we get to the Bob swap.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, strange what?
Yeah. So, Strange World. This movie kept getting forgotten when people were talking about major releases this fall.
Hmm.
And what's also funny is that people who typically know their stuff, I swear I was listening to different podcasts and people weren't sure if it was a Pixar or a Disney Studios movie. It's a Disney Studios movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought it was a Pixar movie.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell the difference these days. Let's see here.
Yeah.
I think I have. Here we go. Didn't have the picture in the best spot. Um, the animation style really is super generic, and I don't really like how close the
Hmm.
characters' eyes are together.
Yeah, yeah. It's a little too uncanny valley.
Yeah, it's funny is that it's a lovingly rendered thing because this movie cost like I've heard some reports of down to 130, but the numbers reports it at 180 million to make.
Yeah.
Uh,
How
and
do you?
it's
Yeah, it's
at least it did report it
it
at
did report. Yeah,
180.
I've been hearing 180 from a lot of people.
Yeah, I know I saw that somewhere, but even if it was 130, that's not much better
No.
because it's been out because of the Thanksgiving Open. It has now been out for more than a week.
Hmm.
It has not broken 30 million worldwide.
Oof.
And there's one moment that I've heard people describe in the movie. Okay, so quick summary because statistically, not a lot of people saw this movie or had interest in
Hmm.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
That was like my if I was the type to go um, and bug people on poke people on Twitter, I would have
Hmm.
said to Brianna that would require that someone accidentally stumble into a movie theater showing it.
Yeah.
But so the basic premise is that you have these people who you have this guy who's a great toxic masculine adventurer who wants to go past the mountains and see what's out there. His son wants to be a farmer and cultivate these plants that make the electricity.
Hmm.
Uh, and the father goes missing, and years later, the plants are dying, so they're going on another expedition,
Hmm.
and uh, and he brings along his son and the three-legged dog,
Hmm.
and they just go out there and stumble across the dad who's been living in the wild alone for a long time. Which it's weird how many times we've been seeing that in movies lately. Aquaman and the second Ant-Man movie.
Yeah, yeah. It's yeah. Come up with something a little more original, can you?
Yeah, but in the long and short of it is that they discover that the planet that they've been living on is actually a giant organism,
Oh,
and the plants that they've been harvesting to run their generators is some sort of cancer or something that's slowly
uh,
killing the animal.
jeez.
You might say, "Well, okay. Well, what's the conflict?" There's no conflict in this story. It's just adventure and whimsy
Yeah.
from everything I've heard. And here's where I was getting into myself. Here's where I was getting into it. The the funniest thing to me is that they actually have a scene where the father, grandfather, and son are sitting around playing some sort of board game,
I've heard
uh,
those. Yeah.
and the and they're like arguing about well, yeah, we got to have a villain. Nah, you don't need a villain. And it's so funny when you have something that's not doing a good job financially, like be high and mighty about its bad creative choices.
Yeah.
Because if you want to do the premise of they find out they're living on a giant organism,
Mhm.
um, make someone the bad guy. Like like
Yeah.
it would be preachy as all get out to do that, but it's like just have like a corrupt also the mayor is a woman of color, so I guess you couldn't have the mayor be a villain,
No. Yeah. Yeah.
but
You
because
could
then
have. Yeah. You could have like an industrialist. You know.
yeah, like why didn't they have an industrialist who was like, oh yeah, we've increased plant production 45% this year, and
It was probably because it's too much like Avatar.
yeah, man, they just accidentally are keep Venn diagramming their movies this year.
Yeah. Yeah. Ninja Toad says Captain Planet is more subtle.
I don't know about that. There's some pretty
Yeah.
on the nose
It could be.
episodes of Captain Planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
But man, it, it's just kind of make a Hispanic industrial like Namor from Wakanda Forever. God, Wakanda Forever's story just sounds stupid from everything I've heard of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. I will not be wasting my time or money on it.
Yeah. Again, I would rather go see Avatar 2 just because I suspect it's going to bomb horribly compared to its budget. And I'm morbidly curious. Okay. Does it
Yeah,
actually earn its 3 hour runtime? How much is it like the first movie? How bad is this thing?
yeah.
But also, this movie is eating it internationally.
Mhm. That's because of the gay character, the
Mhm.
Middle East and parts of Asia and
Yeah.
aren't showing it, and Russia isn't showing it. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
I mean, there are countries out there where, like Latin American countries, where they showed Lightyear, but they actually had a warning on, like, pasted up on the thing, like, warning this movie contains identity politics.
yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So, so yeah. Now I think that we might be seeing what the actual market is for this type of thing.
Hmm.
Which, if this was like a $5 million independent movie, this would be amazing results for it.
Yeah, but no, it's uh, almost a $200 million animated movie that. Oh yeah, don't forget Africa. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's the new, it's either gonna be as bad as Pluto Nash or another Disney movie that bombed horribly that everybody has forgotten about. Mars Needs Moms.
like Treasure Planet. People actually like Treasure Planet. Those who saw it, I remember enjoying it.
Yeah, I liked it too. Yeah, I was actually kinda surprised that movie bombed. I think it came out at a really bad time.
It, yeah, between it and Atlantis, it was kind of like Disney was trying to go a little bit more sophisticated and adult, and the market
Mhm.
just said no. We like the CGI stuff better.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Now, if we compare, now here's a funny thing. If we compare it last year to Encanto, Encanto, for as much as people couldn't shut up about it 6 months ago, actually not all that successful in the box office,
Yeah.
because it also, yeah, it cost 150 million to make, and
Jeez.
if we bring out our old friend the calculator, if you get roughly half of your take,
Mm.
230, um, it would be $35 million behind its production budget alone
Oof.
before marketing.
Wow.
Now it's, now you could argue, okay, but yeah, they probably made, they probably, billions of Spotify listens because people wouldn't stop talking about Bruno here.
Mhm.
They 10 million on, uh, 10 million on Blu-ray DVD. The impact it likely had on Disney Plus subscribers, though that isn't net profitable either, so it's not real money.
Yeah.
Um, Digital things like that, it might have crossed some sort of line by now, but it just, again, it kind of shows the folly of putting these movies and making it clear in advance. Yeah, we're going to Disney Plus in 30 days.
Yeah.
But also, you know what else Encanto didn't have? A villain.
Ah.
Not really. Like the villain was generational conflict, and the grandma was kind of mean to our plucky heroine here.
Oh. Hmm.
Uh, You know what's funny to me about that? You've noticed that people freaking love Disney villains, right? Like,
Oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Like Captain Hook and Maleficent and yeah.
yeah, Scar,
Scar.
Jafar. Oh, Jafar is great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Jafar. Yeah.
Why, well, why wouldn't you want to make more of them? I almost wonder if I've wondered a couple of times if Disney is actually afraid of competing with themselves at this point. 'Ca-
Hmm.
So, but here's what I mean by that. So I've done the thought experiment before. Okay, so why do we only have the one black Disney princess? Why do we only have the one Native American Disney princess? Why do we only have the one Asian Disney princess?
Hmm.
Um, and like, why does it seem like the production of new Disney princesses has abruptly stopped? Why hasn't Amy Adams' character from Enchanted not been added to the roster?
Yeah, or Princess Leia. Or Princess Leia, I think, is in there.
Uh,
Can't
well,
remember.
so I'm thinking like
But
if you go to your party store and go
oh
to
yeah, 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 yeah.
like you look at the stuff for a Disney princess party, you're probably going to see um, Adora. What was her name from Aurora? From
Sleeping Beauty,
yeah,
Aurora. Yeah,
Aurora. You're probably going to see Aurora, Cinderella,
Snow
um,
White.
Snow White as kind of the Betty Rubble.
Yeah.
Um, then you'll see Mulan, uh,
Ariel.
Ariel, Tiana.
Mhm.
Um, I know I'm leaving a couple out, but not too many out.
Yeah, yeah. Ninja Toast says, we can't have new Disney princesses until Xenomorph Queen becomes. No.
Now the face, if you go with the life cycle, the face hugger would technically be the Disney princess looking for her man.
Ah, yes.
Yeah. Anyhow.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so, but let's imagine that you have a paper plate that you're going to have at the kid's birthday party.
Mhm.
That paper plate that you've printed up is probably already full.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, okay, let's say that you did a new Disney movie, uh, let's say you did a new Disney movie based on like people were suggesting, you know, pull on some African folk tales. Okay, you have a new Disney princess based on I don't know. uh, You can do something with Ashanti. People like spider imagery, so
Mhm.
it's like you
Yeah.
have the princess who has the princess who saves her people from the trickster god Ashanti or goddess Ashanti. I forget which, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, okay. Do you boot Tiana off of the plate? Does
Mhm.
Tiana take Aurora's place?
Mhm.
What about do you kick out Pocahontas?
Ooh,
That you have some
yeah.
hard choices, and there's not a good answer there because
Yeah.
people do love Sleeping Beauty, people do love Ariel, people do love. I don't know. Pocahontas seems to have been kind of forgotten,
Yeah.
but she still has. She's there because she checks the box.
Yes.
So if you come up with a new Disney, or let's say that you had a new Disney princess, oh yeah, you'd also probably have a couple of them from Frozen these days on the paper
Yeah.
plate.
Yeah. Yeah. Ninja Tove. Yeah. Mentions here. Yeah. Elsa and Anna.
Yeah. Oh, and you might have Rapunzel these days too.
Oh, Rapunzel. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But okay, who do you boot off? Are you better off just saying, okay, the Disney princess canon is complete. We're not adding more. I wonder if that's
Yeah.
the choice that they've made, and I almost wonder if they've gotten to the same place with villains. Like
Yeah.
so, like okay, well, if we do a Disney princess or if we do a Disney villain thing, okay, who do we kick off of the paper plate? Do we not have Captain Hook there?
Yeah.
Well, what if little Billy's favorite movie is Peter Pan, and he really like I want to have a Disney villain themed one, and oh, where's Captain Hook? Mommy,
Yeah.
where's Captain Hook?
Mhm. Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
it's also like even as much as Disney doesn't know what the hell to do with the Muppets, they're probably not. They probably wouldn't be open to selling them off because a successful Muppet franchise under a different company is a threat. A stagnant Muppet franchise under them still gets them some royalties from people watching the old stuff.
Right. Yeah, and it Disney has way too many properties,
Hmm.
uh and it's such Muppets isn't the only one that franchise they don't know what to do with. I mean, it's pretty clear they don't know what they're doing with Star Wars.
Hmm.
Um, they had a good thing with Marvel, and then they blew it.
Hmm.
Um, yeah,
But
yeah.
but Daniel, Marvel Phase 4, there's no point to Marvel's Phase 4, says Variety, but it doesn't need one. But I think that's a good time to get off of the topic of kicking strange worlds while it's down
Yeah,
and
yeah.
move on to the Bob swap.
Yes, the great Bob swap of
2020.
2022. Yeah, Ninja Toast says public domain should be expanded and strictly enforced. Eh,
There's cases for and against it. Like
yeah,
think of the one thing that's public domain is the Wizard of Oz. And when was the last time somebody did something meaningful with the Wizard of Oz? In theory, any studio out there could go make, and they have go make their own Wizard of Oz thing. But
yeah, yeah. It's well, and like Sherlock Holmes is another one. I mean, yeah, how many Sherlock Holmes movies and shows have we had in the last few years? Like,
Sherlock Holmes has been way more. It's been way more active than the other
yeah,
one.
yeah. Tin Man. Oh, Tin Man. Is that was that sci-fi? Was that a sci-fi show?
I
Yes, it was
uh,
uh yeah, it was on the Sci-Fi Channel. I think it was a mini series.
hmm,
It was like it was the Wizard of Oz, but with like a sci-fi action bent to it.
okay.
Yeah,
So that's probably the last major thing for there. But yeah,
yeah,
public domain isn't always the best thing for some properties.
yeah, yeah.
But
So
Bob
yes,
swap.
Bob swap, Bob.
Yeah. So the Sunday before Thanksgiving, I said, "Dang, I almost wish we were doing a show on Thanksgiving night because
Yeah,
that's like I remember I was watching one stream and then this one popped up and I thought it was an Onion story or something."
yeah. Yeah, it is. This is like if a football, I'll use sports as sports analogy. This would be like if a team had a head coach for a long time, and they were maybe he was really successful, maybe a championship or two. But then later years, team wasn't doing very well, so they got rid of him, brought in a new guy. New guy wasn't doing very well because he only had the guys that the old coach had. So they get rid of the new coach, and then they just bring back the old coach.
Yeah, it's like you don't even give him the customary rebuilding season.
Yeah,
And even worse, uh, the old head coach keeps publicly critiquing the new one, and he's on the board of trustees.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just yeah, this is yeah.
It's weird. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, yeah. And the timing was very interesting too. Uh
Abruptly on a Sunday night.
yeah, on a Sunday night, and just a couple of days after Disney announced that they were going to be doing massive layoffs
Hmm.
and hiring freezes, and you know, employees weren't going to be they weren't going to be able to take business trips
Hmm.
and all that. It's just yeah, very very interesting.
And then, uh, not only that, but it sounds like Bob's going to be the new old Bob is going to be doing the same stuff as Chapek was. Just
Hmm.
and like people are like very confused about how to respond to this. It,
Yeah,
it almost seems like Chapek was set up or it's almost like it's an intentional plant.
yeah. Uh, yeah, it's very very strange. Yeah, I never really got the sense that Chapek was uh really in charge.
Right?
And
He
if
got to
and if
do a
he
few you but
yeah, and maybe maybe he was doing a few things here and there, but it was just like well, I will say that he made some changes at the parks that with him that I am still mad about, and I think Iger is going to roll some of those back. Uh, how how can you screw up so bad you can't do business trips? Hmm?
yeah.
Well, um, but like the park reservations, for example. If you're a ticketed, if you're not an annual pass holder, but if you're ticketed, uh, amusement park. If you have a ticket for the amusement park, you don't have to have a park reservation. They're going to start doing that next year. But
Yeesh.
yeah, it's I it, yeah, it kind of makes me wonder, like, you know, part of me wonders if Iger if he didn't want to really leave in the first place, and they just kind of wanted to, they just kind of put Chapek in there, and then just like didn't really let him do much, and then like, okay, well, we want Iger back,
Heat's off. COVID's over. I can come back.
yeah,
The other thing is, so have you ever seen the? There's an animated movie of Animal Farm.
yeah, oh yeah, I watched that in high school, yeah,
I think I watched that in elementary.
yeah,
But so do you remember the scene where the Trotsky pig is about to go announce his 5-year plan, and Napoleon, the Stalin pig, has
yeah.
him dragged off for being disloyal, and then just grabs the same paper like, here's my 5-year plan, which is much better than the Trotsky pigs.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like that's kind of a similar situation here.
Yeah. At this point, Disney needs to be purged of everyone in leadership. Yeah, there are definitely some people in positions of leadership in that company that do need to go.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating watching Warner Brothers versus Disney the next few years,
Hmm.
because Warner Brothers feels like, because of how they're structured, where David Zaslav came in and had a lot more power and influence,
Hmm.
he could he could make the unpopular choices like canceling Batgirl and things like that.
Hmm.
Where on the other hand, Chapek came in and was stymied by the. It's like the difference between being a dictator and having to be a president in a federal system,
Hmm.
where there's checks and balances on what you can do.
Yeah,
But we'll see which path gets them further.
yeah, yeah. I suspect Warner Brothers is probably going to see some definitely uptick in the next couple of years.
Right? A lot of people point to their debt, but I was watching some videos by Adam Post, and he pointed out that like the most of the they've been paying down the debt faster than they're supposed to.
Mm,
And they've also, most of that debt is at a pretty reasonable interest rate and has like a long maturity. So yeah,
okay.
the 50 billion in combined debt, but it's not unmanageable,
Right. Right. Yeah.
especially if they can, start really making money again.
Yeah. Yeah. And if if James Gunn, putting him in charge of DC, I think you're that could lead to some very uh, really good movies going forward, at least on the DC side. And uh, and hopefully, obviously, hopefully, you know, greater profits for them. And
Mhm.
so
By the way, I think that now that I think about it, Strange World is our counter argument to everybody who is saying, "Oh, the movie's almost done. Just release Batgirl. What could it cost you?" This is a lot. Like, this is a huge blow to company prestige.
yeah, yeah,
If they had just shoved it onto Disney Plus, they could have, they wouldn't have been hugely far behind where they were here, and they
hmm,
could have spun numbers and said, "Oh, it was our top Thursday release ever." It just
yeah,
dropped it right on Thanksgiving.
yeah. I part of me wonders if they knew this movie was bad and
Mhm.
they released it in theaters almost as a tax write off.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you get a little bit of money back, and you almost wonder if it was the point, like, okay, hey, animation teams, when you make things like this,
Yeah.
here's what you get. You got a gimme with Encanto because that was still at the tail end of the pandemic and it had catchy music,
Mhm.
but Encanto was also a money loser.
Yes.
but not nearly to the scale of this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Yeah, Ninja Toe says Guardians Volume 3 is the only Disney movie that I'm actually interested in seeing in the theaters, and that was one by James Gunn. Yeah,
yep.
that's probably the only Marvel movie I have any interest in seeing.
And even then, I'm not 100% sure about it.
Yeah.
But okay, that's right. I don't have any more images for this one. Also,
Okay.
if you see this super blurry image of Bob Iger and you wonder, DB, where did you grab that awful picture? This is what MSN put up via Variety.
God. You're slipping, folks.
Yeah,
These
come on, Variety.
come on, Variety. And but yeah, I guess to wrap it up with Disney. It'll be interesting to see what Iger does. I'm not expecting too many changes or anything to be too different going forward. And I think it'll, you know, probably be more of the same in terms of the movies and everything. And of course, we mentioned before, Indiana Jones movies coming out in the summer. The Dial of what was it? The Dial of
Destiny.
Destiny.
You could at least call it the sundial of Destiny.
Yeah, Dial of Destiny sounds like a telephone.
Yeah. I
Like,
was like, hey, honey, it's on it's on the TV's on the fritz. Adjust the dial of Destiny to see where we go next.
yeah.
It's just speaking of, but we're not doing a reaction to that because it did that thing that I hate, which we'll talk about on the Super Mario trailer, which also did the thing that I hate.
Yeah.
So I have gotten so tired of modern trailers. Every stinking trailer I have seen lately, where it's a beloved franchise, they did this for Jurassic Park. They
Mhm.
did this for the 2016 Ghostbusters. They did this for Mario Brothers. They did this for Indy 5.
I think they did it for Star Wars. Yeah.
Yeah. You start the trailer with like a few establishing shots as they are slowly playing the beloved theme of the movie on the top end of the piano where it barely makes a sound.
Yeah.
Ding, ding,
Ding,
ding,
ding.
ding,
Yeah.
ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a trend that needs to stop.
Yes, I miss In a World. I miss
Yes, I do. Yeah.
uh, I miss the trailers leaving things out, but giving you an idea of what the movie was about.
Hmm. I'm actually one of those people who really likes the old timey trailers. From like the 40s and 50s, like Humphrey Beauregard as Rick. Rick, what was his last? Casablanca.
As Captain Casablanca.
Yeah, or Clark Gable is in the seafaring, and the captain and Run Silent, Run Deep. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
those. Yeah,
yeah, where they would actually assume like they would just tell you things.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, so the new trailer for Super Mario Brothers dropped yesterday,
Yep.
and we have some thoughts about it.
Yes. So when the first trailer came out, I was like, okay, we didn't hear a lot of Chris Pratt as Mario, so
Hmm.
we can't. I don't want to judge just based on a line.
Right.
And the first trailer treated Bowser like a really serious threat, which I was not expecting. I thought he was going to be a totally goofball.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, I have a little bit of hope here.
Hmm.
That hope is significantly diminished after seeing the second trailer.
Uh, yeah. Oh, Ninja Toast is better than the Zimmerman noise. Yeah, the blah.
Yeah, it's yeah,
Yeah,
it, yeah. I guess that's good that that phase is finally dying in trailers.
yeah. But yeah, but so I guess we could start like, with gotta start from the beginning of the trailer, which of course shows Mario
By the way,
getting.
we aren't showing the trailer because
Yeah,
YouTube is always a Nazi to us whenever we try to show that.
yeah, it was a yeah. We what was the one trailer we showed? I can't. Oh, it was She-Hulk.
Yes.
Yeah, we showed She-Hulk, and then we got throttled, and then we're like, well, let's try it again. Let's show the first Super Mario trailer, and we got throttled again. So
Yeah.
it's a fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, so the trailer starts off with Mario getting beaten up by Donkey Kong, which I was not expecting.
No. Um,
Uh,
and so let's talk positives.
okay.
Bowser is still cool. Like
Hmm.
Jack Black is really loving the role as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
The animation looks good, though I have problems with the style.
Hmm.
Like Princess Peach in some of the shots, like that looks all right, but at this particular angle, you just realize, holy crap, her head is bigger than her torso.
Yeah. Yeah. She looks like a doll.
Yeah, and it's not like, oops, let me just copy the right thing here. It's not like this is unusual for CGI movies
Hmm.
necessarily. Like if we pull up Tangled, which is the first one that comes to mind, Rapunzel is a little bit of a bobblehead, but
Hmm.
not to this extent.
Yeah. And yeah, of course the movie's been it's done by Illumination, and it's the same people that did the Despicable Me movies,
Hmm.
um, the Angry Birds movies.
Which
Yeah,
hot
so.
take: the first Angry Birds movie is actually surprisingly good.
Hmm.
You can also read it as a critique of uh, immigration to Europe, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, yeah.
Which I thought was an interesting reading. And once I actually saw it, like, yeah, that actually, yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, yeah. And the voice of the Red Bird is Ted Lasso.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I think that with this style, I know they're obviously trying to be faithful to the video games,
Hmm.
especially the N64, because that's kind of what I'm getting. The vibe I'm kind of getting from it is the N64 version of the characters. And yeah, it's yeah.
And what's interesting is that I think you described it as the kitchen sink approach to Mario references.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
so you've got Donkey Kong basically looking like he did in the Rare games.
Hmm.
You've got, and I almost that they had some sort of King Kong, not like King Kong, but there's some sort of like ruler Kong setting. Like I got the impression that the fight between they had there between Donkey Kong and Mario is meant to be like a challenge of champions thing, whatever,
Yeah,
for
yeah,
the Monkey
that's
Kingdom.
yeah, yeah.
And I almost like, wait, is that Cranky? It's probably not Cranky, but I wish it was Cranky
Yeah.
because that would be great.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but the big change seems to be that and the other things like there's level design elements from Super Mario Brothers 3 and World that he has to navigate through. It's a
Hmm.
world with a lot of oddly linear platform sections.
Yeah. Yeah, doesn't he does the whatever it was not a fox, but he turns into like this flying squirrel or whatever.
Oh, the Tanuki or no?
Tanuki. Yeah, yeah,
Or,
yeah.
and yeah, there's Mario Kart in the film. I was not expecting to see Rainbow
Yeah.
Road in that film,
Yeah.
which is actually kind of an odd move. I almost wonder if they are blowing through a lot of the references because they aren't necessarily planning on sequelizing this.
Maybe. Yeah. Yeah, that could be it. I mean, but of course we were talking about it before the show that two characters that we didn't see in there were Yoshi
Hmm.
and Wario. And you think Wario, well, he could be the villain for a Mario 2,
Hmm.
and then Yoshi might show up in there at some point.
Yeah, Yoshi. I don't know if that's an interesting one. Like that's because at this point Yoshi, it's funny. Okay, so I've been playing Mario from a young age.
Hmm.
Yoshi, although I think my first one I really played much was Super Mario World, but I knew that Yoshi was new to that game. So Yoshi still feels like the new character element
Yeah.
nearly 30 years later.
Hmm.
Or maybe it's 30, actually now it's actually 30 years later. Wow.
Wow, that's oof. Yeah.
But
Uh,
okay, so that's things we kind of liked.
hmm.
I think we both detected an element of girl bossing with Peach and an element of
Hmm.
Mario kind of being a complete joke.
Yeah. Yeah. Which that is a trope or trend in modern movies that I am tired of.
And like it was one thing we noticed was like, or is like in this screenshot here, um, Peach is wearing her her riding outfit from the newer Mario Kart games, but she's carrying a pole arm as big as she is, bigger than she is.
Yeah.
Like you get the impression that like they're just trying to project strength with her.
Hmm.
Where Mario, he spends the entire trailer getting the crap beaten out of him by Donkey Kong, by by this big spinning thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not the fireball one, but like the platformy one.
Yeah, and he's falling off the platforms, and yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I really hope okay. If he's incompetent in the beginning and then gets better, that's one
Yes.
thing. That's that I'm okay with, because that's character development. That's
Hmm.
building. But I mean, but if it's like where he's incompetent and then like he gets lucky at the end, or Peach has to bail him out.
Hmm.
Uh, uh, yeah.
Yeah. It's it's this weird thing I've noticed where so you have this established character, and the
Mhm.
established character, the fans like the established character, and you'd think that when you come out with a movie starring the established character, you'd want the established character to seem cool.
Yeah.
So far, they're playing Mario very much for laughs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's kind of the Chris Pratt elephant in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know a lot of people aren't very happy with his rendition of Mario.
Yeah, so there's a certain percentage of that because people don't like what they think is politics, even though he never talks about politics
Hmm.
or his religion.
Yeah.
So, but and so it's like I'm on the one hand, I'm inclined to kind of you know tribal up a little bit, but if
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
completely honest, it's not a great rendition of the Mario voice.
No, it's I think he's I think he's trying to do a Brooklyn accent.
I almost wonder if
Yeah.
they are having him downplay it because like the bippity boopity Italian accent that he's been known for years because they don't want to be seen as offensive.
Yeah, yeah, they don't want to be playing off of Italian stereotypes. Yeah. Um, yeah, so he might be trying to do more New Yorker than Italian.
Hmm.
And it's just it just comes off as a bad imitation.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
He said,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and Holy Ninja says, yeah, it's Mario is new to the world, so but it's like, do you necessarily want to show all of the
Mm,
silly moments in the trailer?
no.
Like
Yeah, yeah.
you think you'd show him like jumping off of a turtle shell and being cool or something.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it seems like Chris Pratt was told to not be energetic, which is the bad decision for Mario. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I have okay, like okay, time for a more quick one.
Yeah.
It's me, Mario. Let's go. So long, gay Bowser.
Yeah.
All right, so that is the easiest voice in the world to do.
Hmm.
There's barely an actor in Hollywood who used okay, you Super Mario now who could not do that Super Mario.
Yeah, no, yeah, yeah. It's me, Mario. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, and so yeah, it's easy to do. Anyone can do it.
Yeah.
And if you gave me a bunch of recording days, I would get better and better at it.
Hmm.
So I think it's 100% got to be a creative decision on behalf of the studio
Hmm.
or the director or whoever.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was a good one.
No, don't. Yeah, I don't think so. I think so. No, I think I agree with you. Yes. And of course, what gets me too is Nintendo is very protective of their properties.
Hmm.
And uh, from what I've heard, I believe Miyamoto is a consultant on the movie. So you would think with those two elements, Nintendo would be like, we don't want you humiliating our character, you know?
Right, and that's where I'm thinking, is Nintendo about to switch off of that voice because they're tired of the occasional complaints?
Yeah, maybe.
Because we basically had the same Mario voice since, well, technically there was some Mario typing game where he debuted, but Mario
Hmm.
64 is the one where everyone really met that voice.
Yeah.
Because if you go like to Super Mario Brothers Super Show, he did have that Brooklyn voice.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and when Bob Hoskins played him in the live action movie,
Hmm.
he used his Eddie Valiant voice, the
Hmm.
gruff, New Yorker voice. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it's an intentional choice, and it just
Mm,
baffles because everybody loves that version of Mario.
yeah. Yeah. Well, we'll find out in March. When the
Yeah,
movie comes out.
there'll probably be more trailers,
Yeah.
but I don't know. Like I know you said that you loved it, Ninja, but uh, I don't know. Like there's things that I see as warning signs.
Hmm.
Now, on the other hand, uh, what I'll say is that there are people who are complaining, oh, Peach isn't, Luigi is the damsel and Peach is helping to save him.
Yeah.
That isn't an awful choice because um, from like a writing perspective, if you establish that these two brothers love and care about each other, and you take one of the brothers away and make him the thing, and the
Yeah.
local person is helping the local people, like the local colorful characters are helping the outsider with this, then that makes
Yeah.
enough sense.
Yeah. 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 I can see that. Yeah. Yeah. It definitely makes more sense than just like if they pull Mario into the world and they're like, "Oh, we need you to save this princess." Like, I don't know who this. Why do I want to save a princess? I don't know. Yeah.
Well, now when you put it that way, that makes him sound more heroic. But if he doesn't actually have a dog in the race,
Well, yeah. Yeah.
but yeah, it's. I think we need more data
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
before we go angrily calling it. Oh, it's woke, or oh, it's a disgrace to the character, Like I think it's going to be one of those things where we actually have to see it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? I actually might go see this in the theater.
Yeah, this would be one I wouldn't be opposed to seeing.
Yeah.
The, the other thing is that if they paid for the money to swap out an entire Sonic character model,
Hmm. Yeah.
um, if they got enough bad feedback on the Chris Pratt voice, you know, to cut him another check and say, hey, we need to do some serious.
Re-recording. Yeah.
That wouldn't be that would be hard to work in, but it wouldn't be impossible to work in with 4 months to go.
Right. Yeah. Oh, hey, D Rhino. Good to see you.
But you can
And
just catch up on the replay. But
yes.
I think we're just about done with this topic.
I think so too. Yeah, I don't think I have anything more to say on it.
Yeah.
But yeah. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate it.
Hmm.
Smash that like. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Bell for notifications. We will see you in 2 weeks because both of us
Hmm.
are taking trips. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and
well,
we're likely to. Yeah, we might be able to make a show on the 22nd. We'll see.
yeah, we'll see. But yeah, thank you all again, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
Also,
Later.
go buy 20 copies of
Oh, yes.
Guardian Angel.
Yes, yes. Link is in the description down below. And yeah, we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Later,
Yep. Later,
everybody.
guys.